Okay, this is a completely unplanned, off the whim video. I've quite literally just clicked record just because something's been playing on my mind recently and I just want to chat about it and potentially open up a conversation as well. Publishing publishes too many books. I've just been speaking about this with someone on Twitter, and quite literally the industry is small but it is huge at the same time in that we churn out so many books per year. I work in the book publishing industry in marketing and publicity departments, which means I'm shouting about the books that we publish. And we publish so many, and when I say we, I'm not representing my company at all, I'm not talking about them specifically, but I'm talking about the industry as a whole. So what are actually like the problems with this? The main one for me in working in marketing and publicity is the author and the illustrator relationship, if you like. There is limited time to carry out and execute a campaign, and each book needs a campaign. It is unfeasible to give each book the same amount of work, therefore there has to be deciding factors based on the book, based on the content, based on the sales figures, what we think will have more of a, I'm trying to say this really carefully, what we think will have higher resources put into the marketing. The thing for me is that you'll work on so many books at once and they're all at different stages. So some have only just been acquired and you're having initial conversations of the thoughts, some are about a week to be published and you're building up the excitement, and some have published and you're tracking the sales figures on it. Each are at different stages and there only gets more books. So you have front list, which are the ones that publish this year typically, or like it's the current books if you like, and backlist are the ones maybe like last year and before, and backlist only grows and grows as the year goes on. And I know that we're having conversations at the moment to keep our backlist strategy going and do more marketing work in that sense, but in that sense there's so many more books every year as well. And the issues that lie with this is that there are only so many members of staff to do the work, okay? Publishing unfortunately is kind of known across the business to be an industry where you're not paid great, but you do a lot of work. Most people are doing overtime, I'm not gonna lie, most people are doing overtime, and that is unpaid. Most people are in this industry because they love it, like they love books, and they love working on books, and they love changing the landscape for children, especially when you work in children's publishing as well, and creating these new books. And therefore, we give so much of our heart and our passion into it that we want to see these things do well. I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of people that we don't just close our laptops off and that's it, oh we don't care, it's just job, whatever. Like, we have general passion for this, which is where it becomes really tricky. Authors and illustrators are evidently the people that create the books in the first place. Authors being the ones that do the initial manuscript, and illustrators being the ones that, for picture books especially, create most of the book. They have obviously given a lot of their time, a lot of their hard work into producing these. The publishing process can be up to 24 months. It can be about 2 years' time that you're publishing that book, having finished it and submitted it to an agent and a publisher. And in that time, there's a lot of worry, like there is, and understandably, and there's a lot of worry about how it's going to do. And so when it comes to publication, and that's a whole other conversation about how there is a lot of pressure and build up to publication day. When it comes to that, I think so many authors and illustrators get nervous about how it's going to do. You will not see within the first week basically how something's doing. Like, there are obviously exceptions to all of this, but it's unlikely that you're going to be able to say, yeah, it's doing amazing, it's going to be a bestseller within the first week. And a lot of books are that sort of slow burn, so there's this big pressure on publication day, and so authors and illustrators get worried. Where that comes into play is the marketing and the publicity campaigns, where they say, okay, it's published now, what are we doing to shout about it? How are we making noise about this? And I do think that, like a lot of other departments, marketing and publicity do get pressure put on them internally to create a massive splash about it. And I think that around publication day, that can be bigger and more stressful as well. As I said, I could have 10 books publishing on one day that you have to try and all give love, when there's just too many, there's too many, and there's not enough people and resources and budget to give that much to each book. And that's not to say at all that any book is less worthy of that. It's a business at the end of the day, and it depends on things like the sales figures and what we're anticipating it to sell like. And I just feel frustrated and upset and disheartened that I can't give my all to all these books. Like, I work on so many books where I just think I would love to do a big splashy marketing campaign. I'd love to run with this idea, and that spread is beautiful, and I want to showcase that as much as possible. But that's when it then comes into line with workload, in that then becomes extra jobs for me to do on top of an already busy workload. And that's where things get dropped, or things get less attention than expected, because you're competing with so many other books by the same publisher, by the same imprint, by the same industry. It can so easily get quiet, in that another book publishing in the same week will take up all the space in the media, and so it's no fault of anyone's that your book is getting a little less attention. I think authors and illustrators need to have that conversation, and again, this is not my company specifically or anything like that, it's industry-wide. I think authors and illustrators need to have that conversation in the very beginnings about like what you can expect, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of books that publish every single year. Each author and each book is obviously special, but it is worth noting that there are so many books that publish every year. You are competing all the time. As an industry and as working in marketing and publicity, you're competing. Let's say The King's Coronation is happening as I film this. You're competing in the media space for, hey journalists, like this is an amazing book about the King and about London and about the King's Coronation that I think would be great for your roundup in the Times or the Guardian or the Metro. Every publicist is doing that. And every publicist has X amount of books. So you're all competing against each other. Dependent on extraneous variables like the journalist's personal taste will determine if that book gets a slot or not. With the marketing, there are only so many social media posts that you can do per day and per week. To have a post about your book every single day on the publisher's channel is not feasible and it's not realistic. And to be honest, there's a whole other conversation about it, but it wouldn't be right for the brand, because the brand has got to represent everyone and every book, and so having a million posts about one book just isn't right. And on that, one thing that has really been notable for me recently is working in marketing and especially on social media, is because people are on social media, they think they can do the job. And it's not to be like on my high horse and say, you can't do the job as well as me, but essentially, if you've not been trained in marketing or work within that industry, your outlook to social media and how it works for a brand will be totally different to your personal experience. And I think there are those grey lines where people think, I could do marketing's job because it's just doing social media, which is a whole other conversation because it's not just social media, but they think because I know what social media is, I know how to tweet or I know how to do an Instagram post, I could do the job. And it sounds really silly, but it comes down to the little things like emoji use and hashtag use and copy length and the copy of like the words that you're actually using and the timings and the messaging and the overall brand awareness and the overall brand voice and tone and atmosphere all play a part into every post you do. I know how to read and I know how to cross something out and say maybe this would sound better, but I would never say that I could do an editor's job, and quite literally I would never do that and I wouldn't want to do that. That's not where my expertise lie. And so I think that there's that grey line when it comes to publishing and publishing so many books of the book's not doing well, we've, you know, like what can we do more? Can we do some more social media about it? There is strategy behind each decision that we make within marketing and publicity, and I think that even internally it can be really hard to recognise that, and the easiest thing is let's just do another social media post about it, when that's not the answer to everything. Again, I know what sales do, but I would never imagine pitching to a person, a buyer at Waterstones and saying this is why you should buy the books, because I'm not experienced in doing that. I don't really know where this video is going, but my kind of thoughts recently have been we are publishing too many books. We knew that, but when it comes to the people that you work with, just please be kinder to the people that work within the industry, because people like myself, like we're working overtime, we want to do as much as possible for these books, but quite literally we are on limited time, we're on limited resources, and there are so many other books competing against it as well. When it comes to the actual campaign stuff, please be patient with how a campaign is turning out. Please be patient with how it's performing. A lot of books are slow burners. One of our books published in like 2015, and only in the last few years it's sold loads and loads of copies Books are a lifetime thing, and so it doesn't have to all happen in that first week. Books are all very different as well. Comparing that book and saying, oh, you did this for this book, why have we not got that? And I'm not saying anyone has done that, but it's different per book, and it depends on the messaging of the book and who the target audience is, and it depends on what we think is right for that book based on our experience. I think there's just so much more conversation to be had, especially when it comes to authors and illustrators that are published by publishing houses, about what they can expect and why that is, and understanding the teams that work within as well, because when you're slating I will just say, like, this video isn't off the back of any conversation I've had recently or anything like that. It's a culmination of reading a lot of things on Twitter, to be honest. When you're coming and you're slating a team, you're often slating a particular person or a particular couple of people that have worked on that campaign. I think one thing that becomes really unclear and we need reminding is that we're all on the same team. I think authors can sometimes feel as though we're working against them, but actually it's the complete opposite. We always want your book to do well, and we want the sales just as much as you do, and it benefits us just as much as it would you to do it well, and we want the books to do well. So there's no reason for us to deny that, apart from when it comes to things like workload. Therefore, I think just trust in the departments is so key, and understanding where we're the expertise, where we might need guidance, and having trust that this is a whole process. This happens with a lot of books. This industry has been going for God knows how long. I think, as I said, there's just this conversation that needs to be had, and being open with each other as well. Like, we're all people at the end of the day, and we're all working on these things that we want to do well. We're all in this industry because we love the books and we love making change through words and through pictures and illustrations. Why does that become unclear? Does it become an ego thing? Does it become a workload management thing? Does it become an industry thing? Which it is, in my opinion. It's not, as I said a million times, I'm not representing my company. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about myself from previous experience from other publishers and working with people in the industry at different companies. Where does it get too much? When does it come too many books? Is it when someone has to take time off because they're burnt out, because they're trying to strive for this book to do well by doing so much extra marketing stuff? Where does it become an issue where there's arguments between authors and their agents or their editors or their marketers because the book's not doing well? Where does it stop? Like, there's so many books, and when are we as an industry going to learn how to manage that workload? Do we just accept it, which I think a lot of the time we have been doing? We've just sort of accepted, yeah, we publish way too many books, we publish hundreds and we're all burnt out, haha. Like, is that acceptable? Like, is it? I don't have an answer to this. This is more me just opening up discussion and kind of welcoming any thoughts, and I have strong feelings on some things, but equally I'm open to discussions on why this might be and how we can change that, because this is a forum to change this industry. We're an industry that sparks change with books, and so we're an industry that can spark change by talking to each other about how we can better the workings of the actual field and the business and the industry itself. Surely we all want to live a healthier life within the industry. Surely we all want to support our authors. Surely we all want the books to sell and reach the readers that it needs to. So how are we going to do that without compromising our mental health, without compromising our workload and our stress management, without ruining and disrupting relationships with stakeholders like authors, illustrators and agents? And how many is too many books? As the day has gone on, a bookseller article has just come out from Kat McKenna talking about the burnout and the marketing business and so much more, that basically summed up all my thoughts that I've been feeling today in there. So I will leave a link down below and you can read it for yourself.